Here we are inside the Auto-Trail Imala 615. If we first go over to the main control panel, we will turn the 12 volt on this button just here. Beneath that we then have the main isolator button for all of the onboard lights. They can then all be turned off individually on their own switches. Beneath that we then have the water pump on and off. Water pump needs to be on for you to be able to get water out of your taps, flush your toilet and fill the boiler if it's been drained. Next we have the awning light, and then we have information. So if I now start to press this, it will give us different information that you probably cannot see on this video because the camera does not pick it up because the screen is just too bright. So I will explain what I'm seeing. So at the moment it will say, it says leisure battery up here. It then displays the time and the temperature, and then it's just letting us know that it's a Sargent EC363 control panel. After that it will then let us know the condition of the leisure battery and if it's actually being charged, which it is at the moment because we're hooked up to the main supply, and it's also showing us a healthy level just here. It's then given us an indication of the vehicle battery. It's letting us know how much water is in the fresh tank and the waste tank. And then on this part here we can select which battery. If I now go to this button here and press it, we can switch between the vehicle and the leisure. Whichever battery you've selected on here whilst you're hooked up to the main supply is the battery that you are actually charging. It then gives us an internal temperature and humidity, and then we can then adjust the time. So we then just again use this one, and then we end up back at the beginning. Beside the Auto-Trail control panel, we then have the Truma control panel just here for the heating and the hot water. So with this one here, what we have is the time again, and it's also again letting us know we have main supply connected. If I now press this button here, we will then get a series of icons. What I can do actually on this one is just adjust the contrast, so we should be able to see it a little bit better. Okay, so we'll start from the beginning. If we go to the first icon up here, as you can see as I rotate this black button, they begin to flash. The first one is for the heating. So if I click on that, heating is off. All we now do is rotate the button and pick whatever temperature we would like it to be inside the motorhome, right the way up to 30 degrees. So let's say we want it to be 30 degrees in here. Click on it to store it in, and you'll now see we have a little flame just appeared up here. That little flame there just represents the heating system. It's just letting you know that you've set a parameter. Whenever the heating is actually in operation, that flame will begin to flash, and it will now continue to flash until it achieves the temperature you've asked it to. After that, we then have hot water. So hot water is off. If I rotate, we can heat hot water in eco mode, which will give us a temperature of about 40 degrees. If I rotate it again, it will give us a temperature of about 60 degrees. And if I rotate it again, we can also perform a boost on the boiler. The boost was mainly designed for if there's going to be more than one of you having a shower in quick succession of each other, or if you just want a prolonged shower. If you do perform the boost and the heating's running, the heating will turn off because it needs to take that power to be able to do the boost. But what I will now do is drop it down onto hot, and you will now see the heating comes back on, and you'll now see that the hot icon is flashing, and again that will now flash until 60 degrees is reached. After heating and hot water, we then have power source. So we're currently using main supply, and that's indicated by the two little lightning strikes up there. So we're using mains electricity using 2 kilowatts. If I rotate the button, we can lower the power consumption to 1 kilowatt. So if we're on a low amp site, it will stop us from tripping. We can run in dual fuel, so we can run on a mixture of gas and mains at 2 kilowatt, or a mixture of gas and mains at 1 kilowatt. The dual fuel setting is extremely handy, especially in the winter months if you want to get up to temperature nice and quickly. It will only use gas as it's required, and then it will cut it off and maintain on the electricity. And then if we don't have any main supply at all, we can just run off the gas. Next, we have the circulation fan for the heating. So currently the fan is in eco mode. What we can do is turn the fan up to high. With this fan, we can also use it to vent the motorhome. But to do that, we firstly need to turn off hot water, and then we obviously need to turn off the heating. Once we've done this, if I now return to it, you'll see I can now put it into vent, and we have a fan speed of 1 to 10. If I now rotate again, we will go down to these lower icons, and this first one here is for a basic timer. Click on it and it will ask you what time you want everything to fire up. Just rotate and then just pick, and then what time you want it to finish, and again just pick. Once we've done that, we can then just literally tell it what we want on within that time period. Once we've done all that, timer on, timer off. If I now activate the timer icon will come up there, and now within that time period those settings would then apply. What I will now do is go back to it, turn it off, and then return to it and put everything back to 0. Obviously if you're going to be using the timer, it helps if the clock's correct, and that's all this one here does. It just sets the time. And then your last one are the settings menu. So you have offset, which is just for the onboard thermostat. So if you don't think it's quite correct, you can just tweak it. Temperature, just if you prefer it displayed in Celsius or Fahrenheit. Brightness of the screen, 12 or 24 hour clock. Language, index, which is just really for the technicians, it just lets them know what software it's running. And then lastly, full factory reset. From time to time, these units will throw up error codes. They will usually be something relatively easy. So if you're running it on main supply and you trip or you pull your mains lead out, it's going to let you know. Or if you're running it on gas and you haven't got your gas turned on, or you run out, again it will let you know. It will also throw up an error code if this has been left on and you turn the main 12 volt off. In a second we will get a little warning triangle appear. There we go. That there is just letting us know that this control panel has lost its 12 volt feed. So if I now turn the control panel back on again, you will see that it goes back out again. So 9 times out of 10, as long as you rectify the problem, the error code will just disappear. Sometimes if it doesn't, if you've still got stuff running along the top here, just turn them off and then it can reassess a lot faster, and then the error code will sometimes disappear. What you can also do is double click on the error code and then it will say no error and then disappear. If that still doesn't work, I always say turn the control panel completely off. Just hold it in and continue to hold it until it says off. Once the off has disappeared, you can turn it back on again. If you've still got the error code, I then always say just do a factory reset on it, because sometimes these can just glitch and they just need a factory reset. Next we have down here the switch for the step in and out. The step will also automatically put itself away when the engine is started. We then just have the basin just here, and then we have the hob. So with the hob we have one electric hot plate, which is operated on this one here, and then we have all of the gas hobs. So it is just push in, twist and press your igniter. With this gas hob, if the lid comes down, it will cut the gas off. Beneath that we then have the grill, and it's the same again, just push in, twist and then press the igniter. And beneath that we then have the oven. Do make sure when using the oven that you do remove the rattle bungs just here, otherwise they will melt. Beneath that we have the fairly normal storage, but also underneath here you will find the water pump, and then you will also find, a bit difficult to see because it's rather dark underneath here, but there is also a couple of plugs plugged in, which is for the hot plate and for your bank of plug sockets. Next we have the microwave. Do make sure with the microwave that the plate etc is out for travel, and then it's a fairly standard microwave. Just twist for your time, start, stop just here. It's plugged in this overhead locker just here. We then have the Dometic fridge just here, on and off on this one. We're currently running on main supply with a little picture of the 2-pin plug. We can run it on gas. These units will automatically ignite themselves. If it fails to light, it will start to beep and it will flash red just here. And then the last one is 12 volt maintain for when you're driving. So at the moment, if I do press this one, it will beep at us because we haven't got the engine running. If we go back to gas, if it had failed to light and this was beeping away, but we just think it may be due to a bit of air in the system, what we can do is press this and it will then attempt to light itself again. It does elaborate it just here. Temperature control just here, and then push down to open, and then back off just like so. If we now move into the washroom, we have the shower just there. Do make sure that the shower screen is clipped back for travel. The light switch for in here is tucked up just underneath the storage. We then have the basin, and then we have the Thetford toilet just here. So to open to the cassette, we need to just come down to here to the grey lever and slide it across, and it will then open the hole just here. And then to flush, we come to the blue button. With this particular one, because it's had that fan fitted, when you first press the button it will not flush, but the fan will begin. When we press it for a second time, it will then flush. We have a level indicator just here to let you know when the cassette needs emptying, and this fan will now run for about 4 or 5 minutes. What you can do if you do not want the fan to run is press just here and it will then pause it. and then to close back up again, slide across. If this has been left open and you try to remove the cassette from the outside, it will not come out. So you do need to make sure that that has been closed. If we now go into the wardrobe, we have the digital amplifier for the television aerial on the roof, on and off, just here, and then this part here just controls the boost. The television just sits here. It stows back up like so, and then this bit here twists across, but then you also need to make sure that you then come around up to this little bit here and you make sure that this has gone in as well to fully secure it. With this television, it behaves like virtually any television you have at home. So on and off on the top switch just here, and then you will basically see on here that we have TV guide source just here, so we can switch between the digital and the DVD player on the side of it, etc. just there. Obviously, as you change location, the television needs to be retuned, and we do that on this button just here. All you do is just hold it in and it will then take you straight back to the retune menu. You then just hit the OK button in the middle and it will then retune the television. Next we have, in this overhead locker just here, the consumer unit. So within this we have the trip switches and also the 12 volt fuses. So we have the trips just here, so we have the 3 individual MCBs and they're labelled up. We have the RCD and test button just here, and then we have the 12 volt fuses just there, and again they're all labelled up. So if something's not working, it's nice and easy to see if there's a problem with any of these. Also in here we have the solar panel controller just here. It shows on this sticker here how we can switch the solar panel over to the vehicle battery or the leisure battery. So if the rocker switch is in the middle, the solar panel is off. If we flick it down, the solar panel is charging the leisure battery, and if we flick it up, it's charging the vehicle battery. It will then indicate on here the condition of the battery itself. Going back to the consumer unit, we have lights just up here that are buttons. The green one is for the battery charger. If you press it, you can turn it off. Obviously, if you turn this off when you're hooked up to the mains, it will not be charging the batteries. And this one here is for the heating and hot water on main supply. So again, if you turn this off, it will not work and you will get an error code on the Truma control panel. The last one here is full system shutdown. So if you're not using the motorhome for long periods of time and it's going into storage, etc., you can press this and it will kill any residual draw on the leisure battery. The leisure battery itself is located under the bench seat just here. We can view it either from this point here or from the outside. By opening up the outside locker, you can see it just sits underneath here. You'll see on the top bit just there that you have the main 12 volt fuse just there. The boiler itself is also located underneath this side as well. And all we really need to know about the boiler is how to drain it for winterization. And you can see this yellow lever just here that's flapped over. At the moment it's in the closed position, so the boiler itself is holding water in it. To drain it down, make sure the water pump is switched off, and then flip this lever up like so, and it will then drop all the water out of the boiler. I always suggest, especially when you are fully winterising the van, that you also then, once you've opened up this and drained all of your fresh and your waste tank, that you then go around and open up all of the taps. If you've opened up all the taps, that will then release a lot of the airlocks in the water system, so thus helping it drain off better. But secondly, if there is a harsh frost, what we hope will happen is that as the water freezes, it will then be forced out the end of the taps into icicles instead of expanding in the pipework and splitting it. When it comes to filling the boiler back up again, make sure the drain valve is in the position that it is at the moment. Fill up your fresh water tank, turn your water pump on, and it will then start to fill the boiler up. You'll then need to open your taps up. They'll cough, they'll splutter. Wait until the water is then running freely, close them up, and then the system will fully pressurise. Also in here you will see there are gas isolation taps for all the appliances. They are all in the on position and they can actually stay like that. I always say, if you did smell gas in the van, go to the source and turn the gas bottle off. On the other side we just have storage.